Chase the Traveler again, coming to you from Cuiabá, Brazil. Again, like I said before, Brazil is one of those places where the first world meets the third world in an instant. One block. One block, you'll be in the first world, and all of a sudden you're in the third world with dogs chasing you, but you got to stand your ground. Thank goodness that wasn't a Rottweiler or a pit bull. I could have been eaten alive trying to make this video. Damn. Oof. So like I said, you could be in the first world and the third world. I was just having a beer with a couple of lawyers. They didn't want to be on tape. I tried. And I was telling them about my idea of importing motorcycles, and they said, oh, you know something, if it's less than 30 years old you can't import it. So I guess they kind of like threw some rainwater on my idea, but I guess you could still import it as parts. You just got to take it apart and send it over here and put it back together when it's here. If you want to go through that. But you know, these guys, I mean, you know, the guy that I was talking to was an attorney, and he pays about $500 for rent for about 2 bedrooms in a nice area. So definitely, again, I still kind of feel like there are a lot of opportunities over here. I still feel like Brazil is one of those places that I should definitely consider. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of growth around here. I mean, these buildings popped up, I guess, in the last 20 years. And I guess the person over here is waiting to make a profit. So, Cuiabá is definitely growing. Most certainly growing. And most certainly a place people should think about coming. And you know, when a place is already built up, you lose all the opportunity that you would have gotten if you would have gotten in when it wasn't built up. And one thing I like about this place is that nobody knows about it. Probably nobody's ever even heard about it. Yet, it's Brazil. And I mean, you know, the thing about it, people in Brazil only, no, not people in Brazil. People probably outside of Brazil have probably only heard about 2 places. São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Outside of São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, people probably have never even heard of it. Even though It's a very small part of Brazil. You know, it's pretty windy out. Forgot my mic for a little bit. Oops. But either way, I would say that Cuiabá is one of those places that people definitely need to come and see. Now these high-rises are perched up on a hill. So I imagine the view, if you're on top, looks really, really nice. I don't know, but Brazil, they've got to do a little bit better with that garbage. I mean, I don't think it looks good there, but hey, I don't know. Who am I to judge? So, like I was saying, it's a very, very interesting place. I like walking around Brazil and Cuiabá. But you know, you don't always have to go to Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo. Brazil is so much bigger than that. Way bigger. And there is a lot to see and enjoy in Brazil. Thank goodness the weather is good today, or else I wouldn't have been able to do this. I would not have been able to do this today. The weather's been at 105, 100 degrees to 105 degrees every single day. You know, and this part of Brazil, or this neighborhood that I'm walking in, is pretty nice. I most certainly wouldn't mind living over here. And I don't feel the tension or the anxiety that I felt walking around in these other neighborhoods. Not that anything happened in these other neighborhoods. I just felt a little bit more anxiety and more tension. Now, one thing that I'm thinking about as I'm seeing these buildings. I mean, the construction I'm definitely not a fan of Brazilian construction. I mean, the concrete on the roads aren't what you would normally see in Japan. In America, actually, I mean, yeah, no, they're not, they're pretty beat up. So I would hate to think about whether or not these buildings are earthquake proof. Now I say that because I was in a pretty big earthquake in Japan a while back. So I usually think about these things. Definitely think about these things. A lot of people order their food online. It's big business over here. So you can tell that business that work internationally definitely work in Brazil. Most certainly work in Brazil. You know, it's like you have the third world right next to the first world. And then you kind of have, I guess this is like the middle class world. Then you've got beat up streets. But I love it. I love it. I mean, you might not see that in Japan, of course. You might not see anything to that extreme in the US, of course. But the streets are not really going to make you smile. If you fall, yeah, you might have a bad day for like, you might have a bad day. But you'll get over it. And the people that live here, I don't think really care about that. And I'm pretty sure that you don't have as much crime in this area either. I haven't seen any police. I haven't felt like I needed to watch my back or look behind me or look in front of me. You know, that's another thing. I mean, I think they've got they could do a couple things better than they're doing. Like with that garbage right there. For sure. But it doesn't make this place unlivable. And I'm like wondering, where is everybody? I mean, I'm starting to think that maybe Brazilians really love life and really spend time with their families on Sunday, because with all these buildings, you would think that there are a lot of people living around here. And since today is Sunday, you would think that people would be out and about enjoying themselves. But it seems like everybody's at home. Nobody is walking around except me. Looks like I've got the whole street to myself. It's a little surprising. I don't think I've ever felt this alone anywhere. It's either that or church. Honestly, this neighborhood is nice, but I would say there is definitely way less business opportunity here. Way less. I don't see a lot of potential to open up stores here. Actually, I don't even see a lot of stores. I would say that a place like this you would have a couple of convenience stores in Japan, because look at the size of that building and the one next to it, and this one's a little smaller, that one too, and the one behind it right there. So I reckon a convenience store would already be here in Japan. But I'm not really seeing any. But I've seen a lot of, well, the equivalent of Uber Eats delivering stuff. So most certainly there are business opportunities, but maybe the land is too expensive and it's not worth it. I don't know. But for sure, a lot of things can definitely be done over here. You just have to come over and do it. I'm a little surprised. Like I said, I think that things over here are quite good. Interesting. Hello. We're back in the first world again. And look, people are ordering stuff. Finally starting to see people come out, or finally starting to see people out here. You know, these people could be Japanese. I don't know, but there's a large Japanese population in Brazil. When I said Japanese, they turned back and looked, so you never know. They could be Brazilian Japanese people, but their Portuguese was so good. That's like the equivalent of Uber Eats over here, this iFood. That's what they use to deliver their essentials, or I think majority food. You know, this neighborhood's got a different vibe, a different feel. I like it. The contrast is amazing. I don't think you're gonna see anything that dramatic in Japan when it comes to like different neighborhoods or different houses. You might see it in America, or in New York, but not as dramatic as what you're seeing here. Definitely not. And from what I hear, $800 to $1,000 a month is what you need to get into one of these buildings. And again, A lot of people ordering. So that tells me there aren't any places or enough places around here. You know, I'm liking this place more and more just because you have everything. You can experience everything. Sorry about that. You know, in Brazil, you have a lot of people on motorcycles that just snatch your things, like your phones and whatever. So I'm like a little paranoid of that because I've seen that on TV. Not that anybody's attempted to do that. So I just heard the motorcycle and I kind of had to duck a little bit and look back just to make sure that they weren't coming for me. But of course, I was just being a little paranoid. But a little paranoia in a place that you don't know much about is okay. Nothing wrong with it. And actually, I'm going to head in the other direction. Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. You know, I kind of wonder what that place right there would rent for. I mean, it's for rent. Doesn't look that nice, but it looks like it could be renovated properly. But I'm not too sure. I don't know what the prices are around here. And I definitely think that it's worth looking into, but I'm not going to look into it this time because I am exploring, I'm gathering information. But anyway, Chase the Traveler, coming to you from Cuiabá, Brazil. I'm in the first world section of Cuiabá. Occasionally, you got a few glimpses of the third world section of Cuiabá just by which turn I made. But like I said, I think it's a place that should be on people's radar just because people don't know about it. As soon as people hear about it, know about it, it's over. The only people busy today are the equivalent of Uber Eats people that are driving and delivering people food. Either way, listen, do me a favor. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. Would much appreciate it. If you need my guidance, especially on Japan, schedule a consultation. There are a lot of things I can guide you on, especially if you don't understand anything about Japan, but you've heard nothing but great things. especially if you have questions, a situation, a problem. I can give you common sense guidance based on real life experience that I know people have had. So I know what can, what can't, and what will work. Thanks again. See you in the next episode.